Now that your spring cleaning is done, ready to tackle those home improvements, but not about to do it yourself? Well, here to tell you what you need to know before you hire that contractor is Lexington attorney Gina Ghioldi. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So bottom line, always, get it in writing, right?
And absolutely. Get it in writing, because there are a lot of laws that can protect you when you're dealing with home contractors, but if you don't follow the laws specifically and take care to put things in writing, you really could miss the opportunity to protect yourself and your family.
So do you have to draw up a contract, or can you have him just write something down, and there are a number of things that you will point out that they should include?
Well, you know, it depends. Each state is a little bit different, but here in Massachusetts, for any job over $1,000, you have to have a contract. The contractor is supposed to provide you with everything in writing, and there are some very specific requirements as to what has to be put on that piece of paper.
All right, they provide you with the contract. Are there things in the fine print that you should be on the lookout for?
Well, you should be looking at everything, of course, but the big thing is they have to have certain things in that document. They have to be very specific as to the work that they're doing for you. They have to name themselves, their address, their tax ID number, their registration number. They should be telling you what the cost, of course, is, what the payment terms are, and you want to make sure that they list what type of insurance they have. That's not mandatory in the contract, but you want to know what they have in case something goes wrong.
Should you demand to see proof of that insurance?
You most certainly should. Now, of course, here in Massachusetts, any employer has to provide workers' comp insurance. But we're talking about liability insurance. What if the home contractor gets injured while they're working on your property? What if they ruin some of your property? Is there an insurance policy that you can tap into that will compensate you? And, you know, go ahead. Don't be afraid. Ask for proof. You're entitled to it.
All right, and then so you ask them for proof of the insurance. What about the permits? Because the ultimate responsibility is yours, right?
Well, that's right. And a lot of people take for granted that the contractor is going to pull those permits. Now, first of all, you want them to do it. They might say, oh, you can do it yourself, save yourself some money. No, you want to make sure that the contractor pulls the permits, because if something goes wrong, you want to go back and make them responsible. But even if the contractor says they've done it, go to town hall, check, and just make sure, because you are ultimately responsible.
All right, so now let's say you have an agreement that is reached prior to them beginning the job.
Right.
They do not do it to your satisfaction. What's your recourse? Do you take them to court? Should you call in an arbitrator? What do you do?
Well, it all depends on what your contract says. Now, your contract may allow you to go and file a lawsuit, but the reality is that's very costly, and it can take a long, long time to get a remedy. So, many times there are arbitration clauses in your contract, or you can choose to go to arbitration. And that's where it's a much quicker process, but you get a decision that you can then take in your hand and say, okay, they owe me money, and you can go and collect on it.
And what's the biggest mistake the homeowners make in the first place? Is it that they don't get it in writing and don't take names?
Well, that's right, because there's something particularly here in Massachusetts called the Massachusetts Home Improvement Guarantee Fund. And what that does is makes available up to $10,000 per job to a homeowner if they can't collect the money from the contractor and they have a judgment or an arbitration award. But if you don't have a contract, if you don't follow very specific requirements, make sure those permits are filled, you will lose it. You won't have access to that money.
Where can people go for those specific requirements?
There's a lot of information. You can go to the Government Secretary of State's website. You can go to my website at ghioldilaw.com, and there's more information so that when you hire a home contractor, you make sure you're legally protecting yourself.
Great advice, Gina. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.